Hey guys, this is Randy with another video. Guys, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support our channel, our Cash App is in the description below, and help would be appreciated. Any help. All right, guys, I want to do one more thing on the idle circuit. I see what some of y'all are trying to lean the idle circuit with the idle fuel restrictor, and that ain't what you want to do. It really isn't. When you lean this idle fuel restrictor, you make it smaller. This has two functions. This circuit has two functions. One is to feed the transfer slot, the transition between idle and the main jet. Then the idle mixture hole is just to create a perfect idle mixture. So you're using this is getting a little bit of fuel through the transfer slot if the transfer slots are set right. Then this one, we're using the screw to let it jump across here to make it perfect idle mixture, get our engine running like it should. Now, when you come up and you change this to, I like to at least have a 35. Sometimes I won't even run one on, especially on a race car. But if you go much under a 35, you're restricting the total fuel for the transfer slot and the idle. And you can't do that. You can bring this down to where, yeah, it just idle. That's it. But you won't be having no fuel to come down this transfer slot. When you open these throttle blades, and let me show you, here's about where you'd want the transfer slots, right about there. Can you see that, Mr. Cameraman? That'd be these right somewhere.
Let me zoom in on it. I barely see them.
Okay. Okay. Help any if I move it?
There we go. That's better.
Okay. Those transfer slots need to be mostly closed. In other words, you 30 thousandths, you go up to 40, but the more closed the transfer slot is, the more effect the mixture screw is going to have on the idle. It's just that simple. All right, so we got a little bit of fuel trickling through here through the transfer slot. Then we're going to adjust this mixture screw right here to finish the idle, to richen it on up to where it's running right. Then when we crack this throttle, and you see that transfer slot, it's got to pull a bunch of fuel. So you need minimum, I'd say a 35 there. You might even need a 40. Put your AFR on it, see where you're running. Everybody's different. Every engine just about different. So we can't restrict it down here. If you restrict this down to 20-25, it's going to have an off idle lean spot, stumble, or maybe even a surge. So you got to remember, this here is feeding the total amount of fuel down this transfer slot and to the idle circuit. And we want that transfer slot set where it can only pull a little bit of fuel. And then we'll adjust the mixture with this screw here when it jumps across. So we got the idle set properly, even though we've got more mixture setting back in here that we can use, because we got a minimum of 35 thousandths here. So we got all this fuel still sitting there. So when we open the throttle, transfer slot's open, it pulls that fuel right down through here, and you get some through the idle, and you get a whole bunch through the transfer slot right here, which comes down to these transfer slots right here. So you want a small 40 thousandths opening on the transfer slot. Probably 30 would be plenty. And then be able to adjust your mixture here. But we have to run a little bigger restrictor here, or none at all. You can check it both ways, because the fuel's just going to be laying here, because the transfer slot ain't going to flow but so much. And then this mixture screw is going to make the difference up where it idles nice and smooth, because it will need to richen out a turn and a half. But then there's more fuel being trapped up here. It's not using all the fuel. And when you open those throttle blades, that's what puts a bunch of fuel in this transfer slot here. So don't think you can lean your idle circuit down through here. You'll lean it down, but you'll lean the transfer slot down even more. So this is something you really need to know. One other thing real quick, I just done this to show you guys. Here's the factory transfer slots. All right, it comes up here, right through here, and then draws down. And the air mixture from the idle bleed is right here too and drawing down. So tends to emulsify better here, up here, than it does down here. The only difference I found is here, when you have the transfer slot down below, the fuel will be up here in this passage here. It'll be up here about so high. So when you hit your key real quick, let's say your motor's warmed up and you just want to hit the key real quick, crank it up, it'll draw this fuel up here real quick because it's unrestricted. This restrictor ain't here. We're talking about using this type of restrictor right here. The fuel's going to be above it, so it'll draw a bunch in quick and it'll tend to crank up easier. Now, when you have the out of fuel restrictor up here, it has to draw it through here, through the restrictor, so you don't have that fuel that you got laying here in this passage down below. So you might have to touch your throttle, basically pump your gas one time, crank right up. It's only because where the restrictor is, it's up above the fuel bowl level. The fuel bowl level is probably right here. So if it's down here, you got all that fuel just sitting there ready to be drawn in. That's the only difference you can tell, other than I do believe it emulsifies better if you have it up here. Okay, guys, that's just pretty much the final video. I hope you understand about what I'm trying to tell you. If you restrict this fuel mixture down too much, you might be fine with your idle, but you're going to starve your transfer slot. All right, guys, we'll have another video for you soon. I hope to have the one for the 850 on the 750 main body. We're going to try to do that next. And I got a few more to do. This is one of these eBay 850 double pumper type throttle plate, billet throttle plate. And we're going to put it on a 750, and I'll show you what we have to do with the idle circuit. Yeah, we'll catch y'all later. Take care.